Uh, I don't know if I have anything specific to say, except one. Well, this is not a specific, but one thing comes to mind. And this is not advice, I'm just yapping about my own so-called experience. I wouldn't, I probably wouldn't be as human and humane as I appear to be if I hadn't taken psychedelics and cannabis at times. It's a long time since I tripped on mushrooms, very long, many years, but a little bit less from cannabis use. And it hasn't been like a chronic use. The amounts have been like really minute, but this body has become sensitized to cannabis, it seems. So I basically need like not even a matchstick head-sized amount to notice a noticeable difference in in everything basically. And something usually opens up after the traumas have been met, after the despair that everybody tries to mask and tries to run from the despair. After that has been endured and met also, the wellness, the goodness, and I can see why ganja is called a mother or a feminine, like a feminine force or feminine energy or feminine goddess even in some cultures. Or even in some cultures like in India, the feminine aspect of God, basically. It kind of feels like I don't know if I'll go into the details much, but it feels like love. And it's simultaneously like also what you are, what we are. But it's also something totally impersonal, not personal anyway. And there is so much darkness apparently going on in the world, and brain rot, like humanity is degrading. Not every human, not all of the humans, like there are people awakening and remaining like in integrity, remaining truthful, remaining mindful. Oh yeah, this game has a. I'll try to do some kind of a cool looking trick. Let's do like a cab 5 with a tail. I think this is a tail grab because this is a cab. Those who snowboard or skateboard, they know. Okay. These tricks are pretty hard to control. I tried to do a 540-degree spin, but it spun 900. But still, nonetheless, this is my favorite snowboarding game. No, over rotation. But anyway, I'll show it. I'll show the replay. That's cool. You can get it so fast. And there are different cameras. I have a camera mod for this. So the game is Infinite Air with Mark McMorris. It's already old and it's drawn off the shelves. You cannot buy it anywhere, I don't think, anymore. And you can make these jumps if you want. You can like sculpt the snow. No, not enough speed. Otherwise it was actually cool. From this angle. Wait. From this angle. Well, not the best angle, but get the idea. Yeah, so much like corruption and so much trauma going on in this apparent world, apparently. But also so much greed, hatred and delusion, needless aggression, needless lust, and well, that has to do with the greed. And the self-image. There's like, I just recently heard that like the drive for lust and drive for all the sexual thinking and stuff, that has to do with identification with sensation. But of course there is a self-image and like a self-idea in the mix. An image of someone who needs it, needs that feeling, and needs to indulge in pleasure overall. I didn't think about talking about this, but that came to mind. And also social media plays a large role. Like porn, you can see like everything is over-sexualized. And when I use YouTube, for example, I use the ad blocker, and I've set it up so that I don't see the random recommendations. I only see the wisdom, having to do with the wisdom traditions, although sometimes there are some really crappy and annoying AI recommendations, like that at a first glance look like wisdom tradition videos, but they're made by AI basically, and they have like copied, like a lot of Alan Watts videos have appeared, and those I usually just report it's as spam, because it's very misleading and very kind of dangerous even when those pointers and reminders start to get distorted like that. But yeah, social media, the AI thing, there's a lot of good with AI too though. It's not like a black and white thing, like I've said before also. You can use it to help people, which I have tried to do also, like giving information, but you have to like triple check the information, because a lot of the time the info that the AI gives is there are either mistakes, at least a few mistakes, even with the best like Gemini 3 Pro AI LLM, or they leave out things. It seems by accident, just like there's apparent laziness or something. But there's also a lot of so-called bad with the AI, a lot of problems, environmental problems as well, along with others, like information can be easily faked, propaganda can be constructed with AI and spewed out. And I've been using it for giving me information that I double check, basically. Rambling video, I didn't think it would be like this, it would get like this, but whatever. None of this is real, everything is apparent in a way. But even the term apparent, actually I'll say that later, but like, even though everything appears to be, even though everything appears to appear, everything is apparent, it's still all the sensations and feelings and the sensory data or sensory input or whatever you call it. There's not really a real input, but anyways, that keeps going. And who knows whether this ever ends. The ending is basically when it's when the ending is talked about in Buddhism, for example, it has to do with the ending of suffering and ending of dissatisfaction and stress, ending of craving, ending of delusion. ending of personal fear and personal anxiety. But still, like this talking and hearing is still, it keeps going on. But this could be said to be dharma. I don't know how to explain it. I forgot the detailed explanation as to what it means, but all dharmas are empty of inherent existence, empty of independent existence, empty of self. Like everything is empty of self. Everything is empty of, like, a doer, thinker, chooser, experiencer, self, in quotes. I didn't mean to do that. Take that grab there. And about the apparent pointer. Is there even anything apparent? Because that kind of subtly implies a separate awareness. But there isn't real separation. And it is also pointed out by in Advaita Vedanta, for example, and Ramana Maharshi also mentioned this, that ultimately there is this saying that world is illusory, only Brahman, which is basically the ultimate reality, only Brahman is real. But then there is the third statement, and the third statement is Brahman is the world. Or actually no, it's the other way around. The world is Brahman. Brahman is only Brahman. And if there appears to be a world, it's not a world, it's Brahman. Yeah. So in that sense there is no separation ultimately between like something apparent that is being aware of by a separate awareness. At least not in the sense that there would be like a point in space-time. That point in space-time that is observing and experiencing, that is illusory. It's dreaming, basically. Or this gets so difficult to convey because now it goes back to the like a point in space-time is apparent. It is apparent mental and energetic perceptual phenomena, making it seem like there is some central experiencer located in a singular spot in space-time, in the body, as the body, which is not actually the case. I'm looking for a jump that I have made. I'll try to get my bearings here. So it's over here. It kind of floats very close to the ground or to the snow coverage. This one. But yeah, also it can be extremely disturbing, or it usually is extremely disturbing when the sense of self starts to be suppressed by, for example, cannabis use. The personal me system starts to freak out, maybe. And it can start to feel extremely claustrophobic. But in the end, it just reveals the wellness and, in a way, non-awareness, because there's nothing separate to be aware of, and there's no awarer. So in that sense, there is no awareness. But then again, it's not like nothing. So there are these two extremes that are also pointed out in Buddhism, for example. Nihilism and eternalism. So truth is neither. Truth, it's not like no conclusion can really be made. It's not true that everything is just mechanistic and dead, kind of. That's not true. That's one extreme. But it's also not true that there are like real separate living beings and things that have actually been born and actually will die. That's also not true. So the middle way is, well, it's pretty silent in the end. Nothing can be really said because no words. Words are only concepts, conclusions, beliefs, ideas. And the source of the words and the thoughts and the beliefs and the concepts is itself not an idea, a concept, a belief. So words cannot touch it. No concept, no understanding can touch reality, whatever reality is. Whatever is hearing these words right now, and there's comprehension in the mix. But when the claustrophobia is met, wait, I'll do something cool. Something. When the claustrophobia and the despair is met, there is this love. I'm feeling it right now. Although there is no separate me feeler, but it is apparently felt right now. I don't know if that is even the best expression. Maybe it's not even apparently felt. It's just felt, it's just there. And yeah, it is felt though. Like it is a feeling, it's not just like some idea. And it apparently resonates in the chest, for example, but also in everything somehow. And it's, in a way, it's kind of dark. Actually, it's not dark nor light. But sometimes the expression love is dark or love is blind, that fits pretty well. Nope. That was pretty good. As far as tricks go, look at this. Like a normal flat spin and then a slight cork at the end. Well, it can be more like more inverted. With the tail grab, for example. Like so. Yeah, what did I mean to say? It's kind of a hell realm, this planet Earth, for many. At the moment, apparently. Not really, but apparently. In the dream story of life on planet Earth. Or the apparent comprehension of what is going on. And I don't know, it is talked about that it has to do with karma. Like people actually, like karma constructs people who either enjoy life or suffer life, but there's no one there. It's not that there's some person or some human having karma, but karma is appearing as human. Karma is the automation and mechanism, like mechanistic. Well, maybe not mechanistic, but it's the flow of things. It's a flow. Everything like has apparent. Everything has an apparent cause and effect, but only an apparent cause and effect. The whole thing breaks down when the self-illusion breaks down, though. So, see what I did here? This was like flat spin, like normal backside 3 almost, and then it looks like it's gonna be like a cork backside 3 or backside 3 cork, but then there's like a cancellation at the end, so it's just basically 540 or 630 degrees. Let's do a cool backside 180, and let's do it to the top, to the right over there actually. To the top right. There are multiple options. No, that was too... Well, this was alright. No, too much speed. And too much rotation. So like I've said before, psychedelics are not for everyone, but... and it doesn't... for many, or well, I don't know for how many, but for some people, there are people who kind of get destroyed psychologically by even cannabis use, because it can trigger mental illness, like hidden mental illness like schizophrenia. But by and large, if more people would at least like do like maybe 1 to 3 sessions with a therapist. I'm not saying this is realistic, I mean, I'm not saying this will happen or anything, but if people did that, this planet would be a lot more sane and a more pleasant place to live on. But then again, that is also transient. Nothing lasts. Even this will pass. These words, the understanding of these words is in time, and time constantly, apparently, keeps changing. But then again, for who? Ultimately, for who? Who is the one who is suffering this ever-changing, empty show? Where is the sufferer or the enjoyer? So when that kind of flips the switch or breaks the system, things start to be over, I suppose. But still, things appear to appear. As long as, at least as long as this seeming body is around. This dreaming is based on the sixth sensory perception, or sixth sensory, like a show, which is body-based, physical body-based, which includes the mind. I don't know if the body is made by the mind, like some universal mind, that I don't know, maybe, but it seems to be solid. And the dreaming is, it's always not more than the six senses, so life is experienced as seeing, tasting, hearing, smelling, touching, and thinking. And thinking includes the mental images and memories, and mental projections, which is imagination. That is the sixth sense, sixth apparent sense. And it's never more than that. Life is never more than that. Like the apparent life. Actually, it is more than that. It is the love and the wholeness that cannot be put to words and that cannot be captured in senses and sensory perceptions, but it is the source of the sensory perceptions and senses. The 5 senses plus thinking, which is the 6th one. Thinking, memorizing, imagination, projection. So in that sense, life is never anything else than seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, hearing, thinking, which includes the language, thoughts, and visualization, which nobody does. There is no doer of it. The doer is a product of that sensory activity and the thought activity. It's an illusory product that doesn't actually really even exist as a product. Like there is no self, there's an illusory illusion that is not there when there's awakening to it as being false and empty. Okay, that was decent. I can do it better too. I mean this trick. Let's put the camera maybe here and get some zoom in. And what is seeing, what is hearing, touching, smelling, tasting, thinking even, and visualization, which is the same as thinking or thoughting. So what is all that? What is needed for all any of that to appear? What is at the root? What is overarching over like what needs to be in order for seeing, thinking, tasting, touching, smelling, hearing to appear? Awareness. But this that is called awareness is not awareness of separate things. But it is kind of the context when everything vanishes, like at death, for example. If there is no mind, like a mental activity, and it's possible. It's possible after, like, in my understanding, it's usual that the gap is not noticed, the mere space is not kind of, how do you say it, like, not that there is a noticer there, but the system is just so relentless that it keeps, like the mind system, the dreaming mind keeps dreaming other lives after death, and they can be hellish, but they can also be heavenly, but even if they're heavenly lives, they're still illusory, so they're nothing to rely on, because everything keeps constantly changing, and there's no real control as to what comes next, what appears next. But it's also possible that after death, the mind somehow doesn't work anymore, and it leaves awareness, which is kind of like a space, it seems. Like a dark blue space, but I don't know if the blue color is kind of a reflection still, or an expression of the original beauty. But that's why heaven is, in Finnish, it's called sky, taivas. So there is some wisdom in those religious pointers too. Because the same is pointed out in Tibetan Buddhism, for example, also. So when nothing is appearing, can awareness be called awareness? Well, kind of, yeah, sure. There's just nothing to be aware of, but there's still this like lucidity or something. And then the show can start again, and it starts as like a whirlpool, or like a razor blade. the visual can be of like a dark blue razor blade, like a little bit different color than the background. It must be, the background must be illusory already. It must be a reflection, because how can anything actually appear in awareness itself? But when the world appears, for example, this sounds so esoteric, or this sounds so mad maybe, or weird, but if you know, you know. Kala chakra. Everything apparent can be seen as Kala chakra. That's the blue razor, like spinning razor blade. Or the whirlpool. Or the world pool. Or the word pool. Because the world is also a word. It's made of thoughts. Thoughts are made of words. And comprehension of meaning. Meaning has to do with words. So, word, world. Yeah, and then the senses get constructed, or can get constructed if it's a human life that is appearing next, apparently. So it's the five senses. If it's some other kind of a life, there might be less sensory organs or more of them. And I know this sounds fucking batshit insane, but whatever. And the sense of self kind of gets or kind of appears only afterwards. The space seems to split into like a lighter color and a darker color. That's already kind of a duality. And then there's the experience of, like the experiencing organ in the middle, which is the body. I'm talking about kind of a dream that I've seen, apparently. And then the third person perspective, there's like a third person perspective at first. Not for everyone, but for some this has appeared. I've heard this explained elsewhere too. So the third person perspective, there's no sense of self in there, and then the perspective can shift into first person, and the body is still in the air and it's falling down into the dark ocean below. And then there starts to be fear only afterwards, after the sense of self, like the sense of self appears just quickly after the first person perspective is in the body, which was, the body was originally the whirlpool or the spinning blue razor blade. And then right after the sense of self, like I am this body, that sense, it's actually even wordless. I mean wordless, no words. There are no thoughts associated with it at first. But there's fear associated with it. So fear, but all this is actually mental activity already, and there has to be some kind of, in place, there has to be some kind of an understanding, like intuitive understanding of what fear means and what needs to be feared, maybe. And that has to do with evolution. So this was kind of a dream that appeared, but it kind of illustrated something for me. And then falling into the water, into the dark, cold ocean, and there was like a shock, and the body woke up after that. But that was, the ocean was kind of the metaphor for the ocean of suffering and confusion and ignorance in the world. I kind of saw it like that. But it was kind of a weird dream, because there was nothing at first. But I'm not gonna go into detail more, but it was like perfect death. Like, there's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to death. The dying might be shocking and painful though, but the end product. But was it an end? Because like there are words appearing now, and this image and seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. Was it an end? It's more like it's the ground. It's the groundless ground of every apparent thing that appears but doesn't really exist on its own right. Everything is dependent on everything else. Every apparent thing is apparently dependent on every apparent other event, chain of event, flow of event, and it's all actually just one mandala, Kala chakra, kind of. If my understanding is correct, I might be wrong with the Kala chakra thing, but or it's called Antahkarana. I don't know if it's a synonym or not. Might not be, but in India it's called in Hinduism or Advaita Vedanta it's called Antahkarana. Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe it's a different thing. I might be wrong. Let's see, there was another jump here. But where is there to go? Nowhere. Who is there to go anywhere? No one. Love can be felt. Wellness can be felt. Everything can be kind of, this is just poetic language. There is no such separation, but everything can be seen to be kind of like a love song or something. Okay, I didn't mean to do that. That was weird. Everything is just overflowing. Something that cannot be put into words, but there seems to be love, unconditional love. Seems to have to do with it. Or seems to be what it has to do with, but it's also very alien at the same time, like incomprehensible to the mind, to the thinking. Figuring out mind. And why is all this appearing? I don't know. The suffering can be pointed out. Why is suffering appearing? It's because of greed, anger, and delusion. Greed, anger, and delusion. Delusion having to do with false identification, kind of like a hypnosis with the self-image, the idea of being a separate self. But who has that idea? Who is holding on? Who is hypnotized? Who? So that can be pointed out. But why is this? Why is there why is there appearing like sound, feeling, tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, apparent thoughts, apparent mental images? Why? I don't know. No idea.